you probably got friends that have done this, or this may have happened to you yourself. Like where I've had homies that come here, um, and Japanese companies almost break them.
Yeah.
Right?
Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This video is very helpful, I think, for anyone who's going to travel to Japan or trying to do this language thing for real. But yeah, if you want to talk to Japanese natives, or you want to speak to English natives, right? If you're a Japanese person watching this video, right? Please join my language exchange. It's held every Saturday, every week, Eastern Standard Time at 8 p.m. So without further ado, uh, enjoy the video.
So
Alrighty.
yeah, ready. Anytime you're ready. Start off with a self-introduction.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Justin. I am originally from Middle Tennessee, out in the U.S., and I currently live in Tokyo. And I've been here for, I think, going on 12 years now.
12 years. No. Now, what exactly got you into learning? Could you explain a little more about like how did you get into Japanese? Why did you get into Japanese?
Well, I think that all goes back to my neighbors when I was growing up. The house next door to me had a Japanese American family, and they would the daddy was American and the mama was from Okinawa, and they would have these. Because also, like, I'm 35, and when I grew up, they had like shelves of VHS tapes that they had recorded when they were, I think, when they lived in Japan or when they would go back to Japan. And so they would have this stuff where you can just watch recorded Japanese TV. So me and my brother would watch that. I don't know how old, like maybe before elementary school. I think I have memories kind of watching that. So that's kind of what got me into Japanese, because it was the first, I don't want to say foreign, but it was the first culture other than what I was raised around with my family. You know what I mean? I vividly remember those commercials, because we were watching like Dragon Ball, right? Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, now you a Dragon Ball fan? Yeah.
Oh, dude, bro, don't even. But like it was like raw recorded from TV in Japan. So it had the commercials and it had everything in there. So my first memories of Dragon Ball was like the Japanese version, right? And I remember me and my big brother would run around the house like yelling at each other, saying "Ski," and we don't know what that means. We don't know what that meant, but we were trying to act like Saiyans. We were going "Ski," and I don't know. And I remember seeing these like random like potato chip commercials. There's one that stuck in my head called 5x8 chips. It was like 5 and an 8. And I remember it was these two dudes in these all white like latex bodysuits, and they would make the shape of a 5 and an 8, and that would be the symbol for the chips. And they were kind of like Pringles. I don't know, but I remember that was like kind of my first little taste of Japanese. And from that point, I was like beyond obsessed with it. Like I would like, obsessed is not even close to accurate to describe me, because I would tell my mama, like, "Hey mama, I'm gonna go live in Japan one day." Like, I have to. And my mom would just be like, "Okay, honey, that's fine." But I don't know if you want me to separate this into different questions.
It's cool, man. Whatever feels naturally, man.
It basically was an obsession until I was about 20, when I first studied abroad in Fukuoka in 2010. And a backup to that, that was a difficult thing to be able to do, because I'm also legally blind, and that caused some concern kind of with the the people that helped fund my college tuition. It was an organization in Tennessee that supported people with visual disabilities, right? And I would have this counselor. She'd come every month or so. She's like, "Hey, Justin, how you doing?" I'm doing good, doing good. Because at that time I was kind of bouncing around what I wanted to focus on.
Yeah.
And it was slowly creeping up on graduating. I had like maybe 2 years left or something. And she asked me, "So, well, what do you want to do?" I was like, "I want to go live in Japan. I'm going to Japan and live there." And she was kind of like, "Okay, like we've never had anybody from our, you know, list of people we help go do that." I was like, "No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it." And that kind of, I was like, "No, I'm going first. I got to study abroad. I'm going to Japan. I'm going to Fukuoka. I'm doing this. I'm making this happen. It's going to happen." And, through God's grace, I was able to go. I spent about 4 months in Fukuoka. During the middle of that time, cut me off if you need to. I had decided, I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna switch this to a year because it's Japan, bruv. I need this." Right? And I had a girl at the time, and I told my girl,
"Oh no, don't let you leave the girl."
I was like, "No, bro, no. No." I was like, "Bro," I was like, "Yo, mommy, I got you. I'm only gonna be there for like 4 months. A few months is gonna be okay." Then I was like, "Bro, I got to be here for a year. I got to do it. I can't. This is my life. This is my dream." And then she got really mad at me, and then I decided to cancel that midway, and that kind of made some people mad at the school. Sorry. And then when I went back from the States, she broke up with me. While she was like, she had to get some like surgery done, and so I went to the hospital to see her, and she broke up with me while she was in the hospital bed recovering. Anyway, so that happened. And then the disaster happened in Fukushima. So I came back in December 2010, and then in March of 2011 there was the tsunami and earthquake and everything that happened in Fukushima.
March 11th or something like that?
March 11th. And my university said, "Hey, we're doing something with Fukushima University," because Fukushima University started this program. I think they're still doing it. It was called the Ambassador Program, and they might still be doing it, where they would get groups of, college students, and they would come to Fukushima, and they'd show them parts of Fukushima, and they'd help out and everything. And I was in the first group to do that.
Yeah.
And so they took us there for about 9 days, and we went to Minamisoma, and like, I'm going totally off track, but it's still related to Japanese.
It's the passion, man. I love the passion.
There's a lot. And so I spent that 9 days kind of looking at the different disaster areas in Fukushima, and that kind of, because I think up until that point, if we're talking about the Japanese language, it was basically just an appreciation for the entertainment side of the culture, right? The fun stuff, because that's all I'd really known was the fun stuff, the anime. When I studied in Fukuoka, I started to get into Enka music. And if any of y'all don't know who Jero is, look up Jero, like Jero. Look him up. Bruv. I'm a meet and sing with him one day. I'm gonna make that happen. But after the volunteer, it kind of shifted, I guess, how I viewed Japan, and then subsequently how I viewed learning the language. Like my whole purpose for learning the language shifted into more of wanting to better understand Japanese people, like get to really know them. You know what I mean?
Man, there's a lot of stuff. This like that you said about this, like the beginning, the thrill of this, like, because you just dived into the culture itself, and you just saw a few things from the media, and then that was just like, "Yo, that's it. I gotta go. I gotta be here.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it." Yeah. And bro, the stuff I've seen since I've been here, bro,
is the next level.
Bro, you're not ready. You're not ready. Yeah.
level. So I'll start off with the one of the questions, and it's a pretty simple question. What was your most embarrassing language mistake, and how did you recover from it?
Most embarrassing. The one that pops out in my mind right now is from, I forget, a couple years ago. I want to say like about 3-4 years ago, something like that. Me and my wife, we moved from Fukushima to, because I eventually met my wife in Fukushima, and we moved
Okay,
from Fukushima to the Chiba, Tokyo area. And I was looking for different jobs because I do, like most people, do the whole English teaching thing. But I wanted to kind of branch out, right? And I think at that point I had into the JLPT, and so I was kind of confident. I was like, okay, yo, I want to try and work at this some Japanese business. I want to do something for like trans, right? And in the interview, the dude interviewing me pulled out a Japanese newspaper and said, "Here, read this." And it hurt because I couldn't. It could, like, it hurt because I was like, I had gotten a certain level of knowledge, or like, oh, I know it, but like even now, one of my issues is the onyomi and kunyomi, right? The different readings for kanji. So like, I could look at the kanji and go, okay, I get what that is depicting. But if you ask me how do I pronounce it, my mind gets all flustered. Like, he said this one is this. And so that was embarrassing because it was a big punch to my pride and ego. But it was simultaneously extremely motivating. I was like, okay, I need to put away pride, and be like, okay, I suck based on where I want to be, like where I think I am and everything. I suck. I'm not there yet, but okay, now I have sort of a benchmark. Okay, let's strive to read a Japanese newspaper, right? I mean, I'm still struggling with it, but it's gotten a little bit better. It's gotten better.
It just gets better. It's not like you're just immediately good, like. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you. The whole you talking about Onyo and Ikumi or whatever. I think how many years ago? That was like maybe 4 or something years ago, where I had the Onyomi and Kunyomi or whatever, because like there's this website that I was doing before where it had like flashcards, whatever, right? It had flashcards, Onyomi, Kunyomi, whatever, of like how they're used, and then like proper sentences of like how you, in the case of how you use them, whatever, example sentences, right? And I thought that, man, this thing helped me so much when I was learning, Japanese, whatever. That I need to take like some of these elements and like put on a website, put on in something where people can just like gather, some kind of help from it, because it helped me tremendously. And I realized, there's a book called Heisig. I don't know if you know Heisig's theory, or it's basically how you learn Japanese writing.
Okay.
And it specifically tells you about, hey, there's onyomi and kunyomi, there's Chinese reading and the Japanese reading. You got to know this, right? And for what I did, from that website taught me, I think it was like one of those Java scripts or whatever, and it 100 and something characters, 67 characters, whatever. And it told me the Oni and Kuni for each character for that, with example sentence towards it, so I understood the context of how to use it. And I went over that thing maybe like 12 times. And because of that, it made a good, basis or foundation of, right. So when you're talking about, it hurt when I did the newspaper. Like,
Yeah.
read this up, right? He just drops
Yeah.
it on you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That hurt.
I-
And the look on his face was like,
uh-huh.
I know you can't read it. Like I'm like, oh, my pride. It was, again, yeah, that, I thank God for those embarrassing moments because they're motivators. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they
If you
motivate.
always think you good, if you always think you're at the top of your game,
Yeah.
you get rusty. Sometimes you need to get humbled a little bit.
Yeah, so the thing that shook me as well too, when before I started doing translation on myself, whatever,
Mhm.
is NHK. So the NHK, I remember I was in Japan, and I was like, you know what? There is in the language community or whatever, it's like, oh, in order to like get better at learning Japanese like news or whatever,
Mhm.
you need to. It's not like you have to know the word itself. You have to get used to news in that format, the way they speak in that
Yeah.
format.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, bet, man. I'm gonna try that out. And I was listening to the NHK, whatever, and I'm like, man, I don't understand one goddamn word they saying.
Uh,
I just
you,
said one goddamn word
you
they saying.
you step into Japanese news. That's that's like a Russian river, man. That thing
Yeah,
gonna sweep you away if you
you
just try
know.
to jump into it.
So like to respond to that, yeah, you have to like. It's not even just like understanding words. It's like you have to like get used to like how an announcer presents himself to the public, and get
Mhm.
used to that nuance, right? So man, when you said that, I felt that.
Yeah.
I felt
But
that.
I'm sure now you're probably at a point where if you watch the news or something, you're a lot more comfortable with it, right?
Yeah, a lot more comfortable with it right now, because see, you have a form of context of how those words are used. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And because you had those word of context compared to someone who just like I just read it from a textbook or a language course book, whatever. Right? Sure, they have some stuff in there where it's just like, okay, cool. This is how you use, etc. But
Mm.
it's completely different when it's just like, oh, this is their job, and this is
Yeah.
how they convey a message
Yeah.
to like the world, well, to Japanese people,
Yeah.
right? So I'll go on to the next question. If you could
Mhm.
magically erase one grammar rule from the language you learned, which one would it be and why? So that's been a little bit difficult.
I don't know. Like I don't have grammar rules memorized, but um if I could reform something,
Uh-huh.
I'd probably like the whole Keigo system.
Oh my
Like
God.
Keigo and was it Song Keigo and King Chogo or something like that. Like I
Yeah.
get the concept behind it, but
Do you feel like it's unnecessary?
it is long, bro. Like itsumo osewa ni natte orimasu. Watashi wa I'm like, bro, just say hi.
Yeah. There
Like
was
I was watching this thing on Instagram.
that
This
lady. I think you're talking about a lady, right?
she's like a young Japanese lady. She does
Yeah.
like the two characters. Yeah. And she's talking about. Oh no, wait. Wait, is it? Are we talking about the one that she has kind of like a not blonde, but kind of like a blonde,
She has
kind of
kind of
short
like
hair?
yeah, she has short hair. Yeah, we
Okay,
talking about the same person
yeah,
though.
we're
We
talking
talking
about
about
separate. Yeah.
there's a
And
lot of them.
and she did a video about that of like, why don't you just say my name? Why do you have to mention my company?
It's like an
Are
American
you
version.
are you still just gritting me? Actually, I have. Oh, I need to find it. I have a book that talks about the. I should probably get it. Like, I don't see if I can find it. Like, it talks about the different Japanese rules for business, and has a
Yeah.
section about the Keigo, and it's like, okay, I get, um, there are differences in how the Japanese language and the English language structures concepts, right? Okay, I get that. How the Japanese language structures its concepts is different than English. That's fine. That's cool. Um, but sometimes it's just like, okay, yeah, speak to me like I'm your friend. You know,
It's
like,
unnecessary.
uh, but I mean, other than that, I mean, there's not a lot, I guess, of like grammar that I would change because from an outsider's perspective, I find a lot of that kind of interesting. Like I
Mhm.
have a lot of for example, the church books that I have because I'm a Orthodox Christian, and here in Japan, in the Orthodox Church, it's all Meiji era Japanese. And so
Oh.
everything, the prayers, the psalms, the Bible, the liturgy, everything is in a form of um, late Meiji period Japanese, which
Oh.
is a whole other thing that you have to learn if
Another layer.
yeah. But that is also fun if you're a person that just likes to, well,
Mhm.
if you're a person that views language as a form of an adventure, then
Mhm.
it's really fun. Because I mean, um, a couple months ago, I went to Osaka because I do a podcast about something, and
Okay.
I stayed at the church there because I had a place for guests. And the
Oh.
next day, the priest's wife took me up to this little archive that they have, and he said, "Okay, we don't really let a lot of people in here, but we know you. We're cool with you. We'll let you into it."
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful. All of these like Meiji period books of different things, and to see the sort of evolution of that language, how they would kind of articulate certain things, how, for example, like with katakana, how they use katakana for uh, foreign loan words or
Yeah.
names of people, right? So, as an example, in the 1870s, there would be a prayer book that we have that they would use kanji to write the names, like say for example of Jesus, right? It would be, or Mary, it would be written in kanji,
Okay.
and also amin or amen would be written in kanji. And
Mhm.
then you would see that kind of shift as you would get closer to more the post Meiji era, where they would switch it into katakana. And then I forget what the name of it is, but they used to do a thing in this period of time where they would have, so you know how you have the furigana, right? You'll
Okay.
have hiragana or katakana reading above a kanji. Well,
Mhm.
back then there were some cases where they would use simpler kanji as furigana for more difficult kanji, right?
Mhm.
So you'll have a complex kanji, and then above that you'll have like this simpler kanji. And I asked, like, what is that? And said, oh, it's like people know this one. So if you know this one, it's the same reading for the more complicated one. And
Mhm.
then you also see how the kanji characters themselves evolve over time and become much more simplified.
Yeah.
Time progressed, and it's fun. I mean, just sort of to uncover these things,
Yeah.
but like, okay, now read it. Like I give, I can pull it out right now and say, okay, here, read these poems in this Meiji era language. I hate it. Matter of fact, hold on, I'm gonna show you one. Hold on.
Oh, very cool. It feels kind of like Shakespeare in a sense. You know, definitely feel like Shakespeare English and the equivalent of that. I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. Mm.
I think you could look at it kind of in that way uh, with Shakespeare, because I think in around World War II, I think Japan decided to make a lot of changes to the language
Oh,
and make it around that time, or sometime in the early kind of 1900s. They decided, okay, to make some changes to it. But like take for example this, right? I don't know.
that see? Is it say Shigin or say? What's the
This
last character? Say Shigin?
is what is that? It's, I think, shoe for like
It's true. Ah,
Henshu. Like I think it's shoe. I need to ask my wife. But it's basically, this is the Psalms. This is the book of Psalms, right? Um, I
like
don't know
it's
if you
like
can see it.
sacred. poem songs, I guess.
Right.
Oh, it's not showing up on there. Oh, there you go. Some of it's showing up.
I need to change the background because it's like really wild to get into how it works. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see some of it. I can see some of it. It's some of it's like cutting out, whatever. But I can see some of it. Yeah.
And it's this
Cool.
is like another thing to go through, but there's always something about Japanese to kind of learn.
Yeah. So I'm going to add a question. What's the one word or phrase you learned in Japanese that made you think, "Oh wow, I'm really fluent. I'm really getting fluent."
What? A word for okay. If you ask me that on the spot, I'm gonna have to go back to Keigo and so okay, last night I was at a Shinenkai, so like a beginning of the year party,
Yeah.
and I was doing a performance, and what did I say? I said something in my greeting. It was what is it? Oh, see, now I'm on the spot. I'm all nervous, but it has something to do with Keigo. I just can't remember what it said. But it was it was it something something sasete itadakimashite makoto ni arigatou gozaimashita, right?
Oh,
Like like thank you for letting me sing it. Was it I think this is right. Like my wife is probably gonna correct me later, but like, "Utawasete itadakimashite makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu." Something like that. Like thank you for letting me sing, right? Utawasete itadakimashite. Yeah. And then so with that, you'll have you have a combination of multiple grammar points. So utawasete is like
letting me sing.
yeah, letting me do it. And then itadakimashite is sort of the polite form of
like receiving or giving me the opportunity.
right? Like of allowing me to do it. No. Yeah. See, I'm on the spot. I don't know what I'm saying.
Because you're thinking in English. That's you're thinking in English.
And then you have makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu. So like makoto ni is like really thank you.
Yeah.
Which by the way, makoto ni, like that kanji is kind of like a fun little kanji.
Yeah.
But something like that, like to get to where like there are these couple set phrases or set grammar points in certain parts of Japanese social gatherings that you can just automatically turn to. I guess if I can, if you'll allow me to let this be my answer, it's not a particular phrase or a particular grammar point per se, but it would probably be feeling more comfortable switching depending on the social situation.
Oh, okay.
Right, because in Japan there are different social hierarchies, right? If you're chilling with your friends, if you're someone older than you, if you're at work, if you're at school, if you're at like a work party, if you're at a formal party, and then kind of like I mentioned before, the grammar will change. A lot of politeness.
The level of politeness will change. Yeah,
right. And I think if through, of course, study, but also failing, embarrassing yourself, trial and error, you get to a point where you feel more comfortable because as you said, it never really ends. You're always kind of going to learn. But I think when you get to a point where you're decently comfortable switching from a formal setting to a more casual setting, and you can not only understand but adapt to those different levels, that would be, I think, a sign that you're doing pretty decent.
Yeah. All right. So next question. What's a cultural habit or tradition you picked up from learning Japanese that feels totally normal to you now?
bowing and talking down about what you do, downplaying what you do.
So completely, that's very interesting because you said you're American. So it's
Yeah.
just like almost kind of the exact opposite of like doing well, I guess like being American, because like there's a
Yeah.
lot of the idea of being boastful and showing your
And
achievements.
hyping yourself up, right?
Yeah, so you don't
No,
seem inferior to
no, that's
whoever
the
you're
devil.
talking to.
You don't hype yourself up. You get as close to self-deprecating as you can. Like that's how you hype yourself up in Japanese, is you talk the most shit about yourself, forgive me, as you can, and you
Yeah.
just talk terrible about yourself. That's how people know you're at a different level. I think it'd be that, because like I said before, especially if you live in Japan, if you live somewhere where there's a heavy Japanese population, and you're always um, kind of just around that, you'll learn to kind of switch into, adapt to that environment. And I think for me, it would be the bowing, and also I sound like most of the time kind of like a Japanese woman, kind
You
of
think you feel like that's the
like.
influence from your wife?
Oh no, my wife is far more manly than me, bro. Like 100%. My wife is my husband all day, every day. That's that's Mister right there.
Oh my
But
god.
no, I mean, because a lot of the people that taught me Japanese, I had a lot of female instructors, and
Mhm.
also with the music that I do, my teachers have been female, and my main job is at a nursery, and
Oh,
everybody there is female. Um,
oh,
and
okay.
so I've just had a female influence in my Japanese, and which I don't mind that, actually, because there's it's hard to explain it unless
Mhm.
you've lived here and you've been around a lot of different types of Japanese women. But
Mm,
there's probably an image of what people would think a regular Japanese woman is like, that whole, kind of soft spoken and meek and humble. And I like, that's just one of those, like, that's one of those social sphere things. That's like when you in public, that ain't, that's not
yeah.
like they can be vicious, bro. Like like I said, bro, like I work at a nursery and it's all women. And,
Yeah.
the company I work for, there's men and stuff at the head office, but
Mhm.
there's like 4 nurseries under this company, right? And I go to all of them.
Yeah.
Um, bro, Japanese women can be just brutal.
Brutal.
Oh, like how they talk trash about each other, and then wait till that person walk into the room, and they're like, "Hi, how you doing?"
Actually,
Bro,
another thing that's interesting that I learned from Japanese people,
yeah.
because they don't insult like how we insult. You know, it's like there's some thinking that goes into that.
That passive aggressiveness.
Very passive
Oh,
aggressive.
oh,
You know,
it hurts. Like, it
you know.
legitimately hurts. Like, it's like if you in the States or something, and somebody just yells at you and they cuss you out, okay, you just got, most of the
Yeah,
energy's already gone.
Japanese people like pick like, for instance, a good example is, say you're I guess like a new hire at some company or whatever,
Mhm.
and I guess on your resume it says you came from a good school or whatever, and then
Yeah,
you're just performing, or they just don't like you. It's like,
yeah,
oh, uh, wow. It's like, how did you, it's like them saying, I don't even know if saying in English would give it justice,
yeah.
but it's like, oh, you came from such a prestigious school. It's like, wow,
I
how did
know.
you make it here? Kind of level of disrespect.
Yeah,
And you
it's
had to think about
what
why
actually,
they said that in that way.
you know what hurts more than that?
Okay.
Like getting the silent treatment
Oh
for
man.
3 days.
3 days. It's
When
a
you
group
live
effort.
when you live with them,
Oh,
that's that's a whole other level right there. That's like you wake up, you say, "Oh, how was I myself?" That, that's
in the
that's a
workplace,
different thing.
well, that's your independent,
Yeah,
experience. But like in the workplace, I've seen that. I've seen some like the group of people being
yeah,
like, "We're just not gonna talk to that person."
dude,
You
man.
know, the
Uh,
bullying is like another level, psychological
yeah,
level of bullying. You
yeah.
know,
It it can get bad. It
yeah,
can it can get bad, but um, that's why I think it's also really important to just dive into the language,
yeah.
to not only you know understand more
What's
deeply
happening to you?
that
What
yeah, I
the-
mean, yeah, but like understand that aspect of Japanese society, because I think
yeah,
especially for people that watch this, if they're planning to come and work in Japan for like a long time. Now granted, a couple companies are starting to change, but there still are some out there um, that are that can be culturally and kind of psychologically rough. It's good to have a language base to where you can understand that does happen, and
yes,
also kind of like you said, understand when it's happening to you
yeah.
or one of your friends at work,
Mhm.
and also what would be the appropriate cultural response. Because
Uh-huh.
I think because I've also, and I'm sure you probably got friends that have done this, or this may have happened to you yourself, like where I've had homies that come here, um, and Japanese companies almost break them.
Yeah.
Right? I knew somebody who was a coworker for one of my friends at an AL, like a
ALD.
an Eikawa,
Oh,
and
okay.
this girl, she just up and left one day,
Mm-mm.
like left the country. Like she just went up to for what my friend told, because I met this girl. I met her and talked to her a couple times. And then one day I was talking to my homie. I said to her, I was like, "Well, what happened to your girl? Like, what's up with it?" She's like, "No, she gone. Like she just
Gone, gone.
like, what do you mean she left? Like, oh, she went to the airport. She dipped out. She gone." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um,
Mhm.
I think even though you didn't really ask me this, but I'm like, I think learning the language like as deeply as you
Yeah,
can help in a way prepare you for the less than beautiful sides of Japanese culture, because
yeah,
you can understand that it happens, and it would kind of, I think, be, I don't want to say easier, but
mhm,
it's easier to cope with, because you could
yeah.
you could at least research and look into it, and then if you have language issues, and then you're also confronted with workplace harassment,
Kawahara.
like pawahara, right? Like pawahara, and then like you have pawahara, you're lonely because you just
Mm,
moved to a new country. You haven't adapted to the culture. You haven't adapted to the day-to-day things.
yeah,
And there's some language issues. It can be a lot,
it can
so I
be a
think,
lot.
yeah,
Mhm.
studying
The
help.
studying, so yeah, studying out, study, guys. Oh my God, study.
Actually, if,
Yeah.
if I can I show you a book that I bought recently? Um, and this is if I can read this
I'll
properly.
ask one more question,
I'm
and
sorry.
then after that, it's all good, man. We gonna get there. We gonna get.
I'm sorry.
So last question, and then after we'll go into that, and
Okay.
then you can tell people where they can find you, right? So if you could
Mhm.
only recommend one Japanese TV show, movie, or YouTuber to language learners, what would it be, and how would
One? Why gotta be one? Um,
Try your best now.
do y'all okay? Do any of y'all know? Is this still a thing? Keyhole TV.
Keyhole TV? I never heard of.
You ever hear about that? I don't know if it still works. I don't even know if it's like a safe thing to recommend. But back when I think before I went to
Mhm.
go for the study back, and I think they still have it. There was this program you would download called Keyhole TV,
Keyhole TV.
and it was basically this little app that would open up a little window where you could just watch random Japanese TV channels.
Okay.
And I mean, nowadays with like VPNs and everything, you don't really need it. But I would recommend, okay, not a specific TV show or channel because I can't. There's too much good stuff, and also it depends on like what avenue you want to go down with your Japanese language. So I would recommend for all of y'all that can, um, like if you have a VPN or something or whatever, access Japanese YouTube.
Japanese YouTube.
Yeah, and just go into
the
it.
region settings and switch to. I think you can probably change the region settings on YouTube, and then it'll just show you this Japanese only.
Okay,
Japanese.
then try that if you can. And my whole philosophy is just dive in.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation, especially with your ears. Get your
Mhm.
ears adjusted to it. Like one thing I listen to now is a channel called Pivot.
Pivot.
Uh,
Okay.
I think it's Pivot, Pivot, and they're an economics channel basically. They talk
Oh.
about economics and sometimes language learning, but it's for Japanese people. And so when they
Oh.
talk about language, they'll talk about English and how to study English. But I watch it because I'm trying to learn more about Japanese finance. So that would be
Mm.
something I would recommend if you're more advanced. Oh wait, no, I just remembered. I think they're called Nihongo no Mori.
Nihongo Mori.
Yeah, Nihongo no Mori is a channel, and I think they also have an app too. And it's like a education group that teaches Japanese, and they have a whole bunch of videos about vocabulary, grammar, and I think they base it off the JLPT. So
Oh,
like a lot of their
cool.
stuff is broken down into vocabulary and grammar for N1, N5, N2. Um, there's a lot of good stuff. It's more kind of like a classroom setting type thing.
Mm.
So if you're looking at maybe taking the JLPT, that'd be I like that channel. It's a pretty good one. There's what's that dude's name? What's that dude's name? Dogen?
Dogen. He
You know him?
does
Yeah.
a lot of rakugo on YouTube,
Yeah.
and a lot of like inside jokes for a lot of like language nerds. Like
Yeah.
I would put myself in the language nerd community, I guess, because I'm way too deep now. I'm way too deep now.
Okay, I got something for you. We'll test that. But I mean, I think his stuff, especially when it comes to accents and
Yeah,
Japanese pitch, is just I think
I think
phenomenal.
it's
My
very.
pitch sucks. I never really thought about that as a thing
Mhm.
when I started studying Japanese, and now recently I'm slowly starting to reconsider learning pitch. But I mean, yes, I mean, you don't
That
have to. I mean, people will get it.
itself is interesting because I never really cared about pitch because I was like the way that I learned Japanese, or I guess like conversational Japanese, is I watch a lot of dramas. I watch a lot of uh not like Japanese anime, even though anime is awesome.
Yeah,
I
we
ain't,
love
I,
that.
I
Yeah,
ain't, let's be honest.
yeah.
Everyone is
Like,
cross
like,
paths with
like,
anime,
like,
you know.
bro. Okay, bro. Real quick. Sorry, real quick. I was
Yeah,
at
it's
this
okay.
like recycle shop with my missus and her family. We were looking for some stuff, and I saw like this figurine of Asuka from Evangelion.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I found my girlfriend. I was like, and I told my wife, I was like, yo, honey, I found my college girlfriend. And she just kind of looked at me like, congratulations. But I'm like, nah, bro, we love anime. But no, the dramas are good.
Yeah, there's been a few dramas. I'll just throw them out there. Hanori Dango.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Bakuyako. I used to really like Bakuyako. Bakuyako was like
I don't know that one.
basically like Bonnie and Clyde,
Okay.
Japanese version of Bonnie and Clyde, whatever,
Okay.
right? And there's actually the one number one, if you guys ever had a time to watch it or whatever, Zenigeva. Zenigeva is basically a story of a guy who came from basically completely poor, completely broke, and his whole mindset is based off of, if you don't have money, whatever, you can't be happy, whatever, right? And I won't spoil too much of it. It's basically his mother dies because of he couldn't basically pay for medication, and the father was like abusive, etc., and that led to her death, right? And throughout the entire show, it's just the idea of if you have money, you'll be able to have a happy life or whatever,
Right.
and then it kind of construes it battles with the idea of like, is that statement even true? So
What's the name of that? I'm gonna see if I can check that out.
Yeah, Zenigeva is Zeni and Geva Geba.
Okay. Zenigeva.
And I'm telling you, man, that show will put you down a rabbit hole. Cause I think I watched it over maybe 3 times. Because one, when I was, doing it in the beginning or whatever, I was just like kind of like shocked that this could exist. That in another country or whatever. I was like completely not on that wavelength at that time.
Yeah.
And the second time I watched it was just more of just like, oh, this is showing me a little bit more, not just of like this concept of like, oh, if you have money, whatever, you can be happy, etc. Or people, how they view money in the sense of like, if you have it, your life you can succeed in life. It's used as a status leader in your life, right? And seeing society as like you won in life, right? But the deeper it goes down psychologically, the third time I watched it, it's like, nah, this thing is real deep. Where it's just like, what do you believe about money?
That is a perfect show for where I live. For the part of Japan I live in, that makes perfect sense. I love that. I'm going to check it out. Have you ever watched what's it called? I think it's called Mother Daughter Blues. It's kind of like a little romantic. I like kind of cute dramas. It's like my favorite Japanese actress is Ayase Haruka.
Yes, Haruka.
Okay. Yeah, that's my second wife. I love her. And this drama, I think in English it's Mother Daughter Blues. Is basically this daddy who has a young daughter. His wife dies, and he ends up marrying this woman. I think I haven't seen it for a while, but I think she is at his job, and she's a very cold, calculating, kind of by the books person.
Yeah, and
you kind of see her slowly become softer and connect with the daughter. It's a really touching story. And if we're going to stick to language learning, there's what was it? Nihonjin ga shiranai Nihongo.
Oh, Nihonjin ga shiranai Nihongo.
That it's a little bit older. I think it's from like the early 2000s or maybe like the early 2010s. And it's basically like a comedy.
Japanese people don't know.
Exactly, yeah. And it's a comedy kind of about this gyaru type girl who becomes a teacher at a Japanese language school. And it's full of all of these different foreigners. Like there's a black dude from Africa, there's a dude from Korea, Chinese girl, I think Russian, British, all these different people. And it's kind of like each episode, it kind of, through their questioning, it reveals sort of an interesting part about the Japanese language, because the teacher, she doesn't really know. And so they'll ask her these like detailed questions, and then she'll go, I never thought about that. And then on the screen, it'll kind of pop up like a little animation about it. It's real cute. And then each episode kind of dives a little bit into the backstory and life of each individual foreign character. Like I think his name's Bob, like the black dude, and his is kind of interesting because he's like one of the first characters that you meet in opening shots of the episode, because he's like just this black dude wearing a wife beater on a bus with this loud music playing, and she kind of yells at him, "Hey, stop that! That's not what we do in Japan." And all the people are kind of cheering, but then it cuts to basically her realizing he's one of her students. And I think that episode or another episode, it kind of goes a little bit deeper into what he does, his job and his struggles, and then him and the teacher become a little bit closer. It's a sweet show. Yeah, I think Nihonjin ga shiranai Nihongo. And I think you can find part of it on YouTube. It might be on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure, but that's one of my shows. Oh, also,
okay.
I got one more. And forgive me, this is kind of a prideful reason why I bring this up, but do you know the show Tokyo Vice?
Tokyo Vice? I think so. I think I know a guy that I think he's a journalist for that. I hope I don't bitch this guy's name. D6 or something? Not D6. Oh man, I can't believe I don't remember this guy's name properly. But he does like journalism for Tokyo Vice. Right, and he has his hair is very remarkable.
What is that? So no, hold on. Oh no, we're talking about the same thing. Are we talking about the publication Vice or like the TV show?
You know what? I think
because I'm talking about there's a TV show. Because I know there's the publication Vice in Tokyo. I know there's them, and I need to kind of hear about your friend though, because that sounds kind of awesome that they work for Vice here in Tokyo. Because
I think so.
I want to hear about that. But what I'm talking about is there's a TV show called Tokyo Vice.
Okay.
Kind of like Miami Vice and stuff like that.
Miami.
And
he's definitely in Vice. I don't know if he's in Tokyo itself, whatever, but he knows Japanese and he's very into the culture.
Okay, I'd like to hear about him. But this show's on Amazon Prime. I think they have 2 seasons right now. It's from 2022, and they might be working on the 3rd. I'm not sure. And I just started watching it. It has Ken Watanabe in it. It's a pretty cool show. It's kind of how it works. It's like a Yakuza drama, and it's kind of partially in English because 2 of the main people are like foreigners, and it goes from English to Japanese, and it's actually really cool. And I know one of the people that's in that show, and that's why I brought that up, is because I met yesterday at a party one of the actors from that show, and that's why I brought that up. And it also turns out that he was in Howl's Moving Castle. Didn't know that because I messaged him like a couple minutes ago. I was like, dude, I was going through your IMDb. Were you in Howl's Moving Castle? He's like, oh yeah, I played like the police officer. I was like, I don't want to throw that out there because like another thing, if you learn this language and you get real good at it, and then kind of like if I have time, I'm gonna get into this part later. If you find something within Japan that you're really passionate about, and you really go hard at it, it can be an art, it can be a more industry related, that can open up a lot of doors for you to meet people. In my case, it was art related, but like that's why, again, learning that language and the culture in whatever ways you can do it. If you start with kind of like those YouTube channels to kind of get you ready for those exams, if that's where you start off, great. If you move into dramas, anime, if you take a dive into like economics or news, whatever it is, you just go out there and you just start building stuff, because your brain's going to eventually figure it out. You know, your brain is going to eventually over time adapt to the patterns of the language, the patterns of the sounds, the patterns of the characters and everything, and you'll get it. And then once you get it, then you'll have to kind of figure out, now what do I want to say with this language? I've been spending
like your
years.
Purpose.
Yeah. Like
your purpose behind it.
Exactly. And then when you find that purpose for why you're learning this language, and then you just go all in, and then the fun starts to happen.
Yeah. I'm gonna we're gonna talk more, but I'm gonna how people can find you, man. Like tell me more about what
Okay.
you're doing online and what are you doing.
If you're
How you
on
find people.
X, if you're on
Okay.
X or Instagram, you can find me at Shigin, so SHIGIN underscore Gaijin.
Okay.
Gaigin, right? Shigin Gaijin. That's my main account. I have another one where I do kind of photos, but that's yeah.
Yeah.
But my main one is Shigin Gaijin, and both of those work for X and Instagram. And the reason why, can I say this now? It's relevant.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. The reason why is because of this music that I do.
Okay.
This, I don't know if you can see it or not, but
It's cutting in and out.
hold on, let me. Okay, I get the whole background thing. Let me cut this background off because I want
It's
that.
completely doesn't take it out now.
Like I was, okay, like ain't nothing in the background anyway. Um, how
There's the three dot thing, and then you press
yeah,
what's
here we go.
oh,
Turn
there
it
you
up.
go.
All
Live
right,
visual.
because I want to show y'all. Y'all can't see that, right? Yeah, y'all can't see
Oh,
that.
we see everything now. We see everything
Yeah,
now.
no. Is this?
Okay.
This is what I do. I'm a singer. Well, my main job is I'm a nursery teacher, but also
Yeah.
I sing poetry.
Oh.
And this is called Shigin. It
Mhm.
means poetry recitation or poetry chanting.
Yeah.
And basically what this is, you sing these kind of classical Chinese poems. And how this is structured,
Oh,
by the
cool.
way, you'll see the hiragana, right? The
Yeah.
kanji.
Quality.
They're kind of structured in two different ways. So the kanji is written in the Chinese structure. So it
Mhm.
follows the Chinese grammatical structure. And
Oh.
then the hiragana follows the Japanese structure. So like for this one here, if you were to look, oh, here we go, at the bottom,
Okay.
this would be, hold on, I think this is it. It would be, I think this is it, yeah. You'll have it written in sort of more modern Japanese.
Oh, okay.
And so
Cool.
the flow is a little bit different. But this is what I do. And so that's why it's Shigin Gaijin, because this is kind of
That's the reason.
my main passion. And because I do this, and there's not there's not a lot. There's very, very few other foreigners that do this, especially in Japan. Outside of Japan, there's a couple schools in I think Canada and the US, but
Yeah.
very few foreigners. And so this has allowed me to learn a lot about language, a lot about Japanese history, um, Japanese philosophy, Japanese, culture. And what kind of we were talking about opening up those doors because there's so few foreigners that do this. It has
Mhm.
allowed me to, have conversations with people. Uh,
Mhm.
like, God willing, I'm thinking about having a conversation about performing at Tokyo Tower, right?
Oh, okay.
Because I had a friend, one of my friends, she does rakugo, and
Mhm.
if y'all know, rakugo is like the traditional kind of comedic storytelling, right?
Comedic storytelling, yeah.
And one of my friends, she does this in English and Japanese. She's Japanese, but she does it in English and Japanese. And she had a thing at Tokyo Tower. She's like, "Hey, Jess, I want you to come through. I'll reserve a ticket for you. Once you come through, I want to introduce you to somebody." Like, okay, cool. Because she knows
Yeah.
I do Shigin, because I met her because I do Shigin. And
Mhm.
I saw her performance. It was cool. And it was wild because she's like sitting there doing her show. And then I look and it's just boom, Tokyo, right out the window. Like it's wild, son. And then she gets done and I meet up with her. She's like, "Yo, I want to introduce you to this lady." And this lady is the one that organizes the whole event. And I get her a little business card. And she's like, "Yeah, talk to me, hit me up." Like, yeah. We've never had someone that does Shigin, but yeah, hit me up. And that's why I can't emphasize enough finding something about Japanese culture that you're passionate about, that you can
Go
really
all in on.
into, especially if, from what you can tell, there's not many foreigners doing it. Yeah, there's the aspect of yeah, it'll make me like kind of unique, which
Yeah,
is
let's stand out a little
kind of
bit.
kind of a dangerous road to go down, because then you'll get all like full of yourself, which is never a good thing.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it gives you an opportunity to really get into areas of Japanese culture that you may not experience otherwise, and it lets you see a different side to Japanese people, a different uses of the language, and it'll help you build a really good network. So like I went to an event last night again, and this was an event with different foreign kind of artists, right?
Yeah.
Because the person running it, she kind of does, she's a foreign kind of like director here in Japan. She does a little production. She knows a lot of people.
Like a creative director or something like that.
Yeah. And one of the people she had at that party, and I got to talk to him, fantastic dude, was a Swedish rakugo performer. And he's been on TV a couple times, and his teacher is like a really, really famous rakugo performer. And I got to sit and talk to him. I watched him perform, and watching him perform was a study of the language and culture in and of itself, because you see this foreigner, this tall dude from Sweden who's been in Japan maybe like about as long as me, about 10 some odd years, and then you watch how he moves, keeping in mind what he does. He does rakugo, a very traditional Japanese art form, right? So you have that kind of standard of what rakugo is in your mind, and you watch him perform, you watch his movements, how he uses the language, how he pronounces his words, his timing, his comedic timing, and you compare that to what like a Japanese rakugo performer, and it's 1-to-1, right? And it was a study for me again, and I apologize for people watching it because I'm repeating myself. Don't just learn the language, like use the language as a springboard into the culture.
Like a vehicle or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna leave it at this, and maybe we need to do like a part 2, or maybe do another one. We were talking about do another one in Japanese or whatever. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see.
Because I didn't even get to my other books. Like I didn't show you this book. I didn't show you, like, I got like a book on like translation skills if you want to be a translator. This one, I just bought this, and for anyone that's like an advanced learner. Yeah, exactly. This is a book. It's Imin Jidai no Nihongo Kyoiku no Tameri. So this is a book for Japanese teachers.
Okay.
So this is basically like for any of your audience that's like, that N2, N1 level, they want to try something. I recommend this book because it talks about how Japanese education, the education system, and the concept of teaching Japanese is changing in an era where Japan is getting more immigrants.
Yes, it is.
How do you respond to that? So as a Japanese instructor, how do you respond to children that are the parents of immigrants? How do you respond to people that have different cultures and it even has a section like in the first chapter that talks about it was I forget the Japanese word, but basically it was the concept of Japanese people being honorary white people. And I love my white brothers and sisters. No, don't.
Yeah.
But it basically talks about how you'll get, like, as it says in the book, how a lot of exchange students will come from Asia, right? East Asia, right, to Japan. And you'll have some cases, not all, but some cases where a Japanese family will say, "Hey, can I get like a white person? Can I get someone that's European or something?" And it talks about that. It's like, wait a minute. Well, why do some Japanese isolate or alienate? Where does that concept come from? And then it talks about later on in the book, how do you approach teaching certain aspects of the Japanese language? And so it's a real. I just started reading it, but it's really fun. And then this is a cool book. It was a Honyak skill handbook. So this is again, if you're maybe that N2, N1 level, and you're thinking about translating as a side job, or you want to start doing some fan translations, right? This has a lot of cool tips for how would you do that. Like do you directly translate, or do you just translate the overall feeling? This is a good book.
Oh man, I could
got one
definitely
more.
talk about that for a long
I got one
time.
more.
The Kampo,
Yeah.
constitutional law.
Yeah.
姫
Constitutional
る
law.
公務員の試験
Yeah. So this is designed for people that want to take sort of the
public
public
servant.
exams for be like a public worker. But well, Justin, why you pull it out like a constitutional law? Because again, for my N2, N1 people,
Yeah.
human
Sure.
rights part 2, foreign rights.
近共有集大成 外国
Yeah.
人領土の保有
And it may be a little blurry, but this is basically talking about the Jinken or Gaikokujin, the human rights for foreigners in Japan. So according to the Japanese constitution, what rights do foreigners have?
Yes.
So that's another thing. One more thing. And for your audience, I'm sorry, I could go on infinitely talking about this stuff.
You're showing a lot of stuff that people should know.
Learn
be interested in
law. If
Yes.
you really want to get good at Japanese, like if you're at that N2, N1 level and you want to push yourself, learn Japanese law. 1, because it's fun. Why not? We like challenges. And 2, inform yourself. Now,
Yeah.
this is constitutional law. So what you might want to get is something that's was it Minpo, I think?
Minpo?
Civic law.
Civic. Oh yeah, citizen. Yeah, Minpo.
Yeah, so that might be a little bit better because that may go into the actual day-to-day laws. But if you get a chance, because I've been blessed to meet a couple lawyers here in Japan, and I seek their advice sometimes, just asking them questions because I'm curious.
Yeah.
And, I am so blessed to be here in Japan. I thank God every day I'm here. But if you're gonna come here, learn, educate, protect yourself, learn the law.
Yeah, your best foot forward. I really, man, I'm glad. Like I said, we're gonna talk after this. We're gonna talk like off record. Off the record, whatever, right?
We need to do a part 2 and part 3 because I got a whole bunch more books.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little break and then come back. So if you guys like Shigin, it's Justin, right?
Yeah, you can call me Justin. That's fine.
Justin's fine. Hit him up, man. Like, this is like I would love to have more of these conversations where people are they're in Japan or they're studying Japanese and they reach a certain level where they can basically, you can make opportunities and also talk about some stuff that is gonna basically like strengthen us in this, because like Japan's changing in a sense where a lot of people being immigrated there. And what you just touched on is beautiful, because law and a lot of stuff of not knowing the laws of the land is a big problem for, I think, for foreigners.
Yeah.
Right. And I think most of the workforce, is actually to foreigners now. It's not for Japanese citizens or whatever. From what I've read before, right? And knowing about labor laws, knowing about the law, whatever, where your rights or whatever, very important. So yeah, man, contact Shigin, man, because this is something to definitely be talked about. So we're gonna do. I see now. I just said now we gonna do a second part.
There you go. But I want to say one more thing. First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you. I love any chance I get to talk to people. But one final thing to any of y'all that's studying, to call back to that embarrassing question, the question about what it was an embarrassing moment for me. Okay. Don't let embarrassing moments deter you. Let that be your greatest motivation, especially if you get kind of your pride knocked down a little bit. That's a good thing, because it kind of shows you, okay, I don't know everything yet. I still got a lot to learn, and that's fun. That's good, because like, okay, where can I take this next? What's this path going to take me on next? And it's like, enjoy the process. Like I could talk to you for hours. Just enjoy the process. Don't give up. And I'm about
that. So if you guys like this content, like, comment, subscribe. Give man, whatever you felt on this, let's talk. Let's talk. Hit me up. I have a form, an interview form that I created, I think 2 days ago or something like that. And I'm getting a lot of people coming in, whatever, and they want to share these stories. They want to talk about their language experience and how they got fluent. And I think it's going to help a lot of people, man. Yes. I really do. So
I think you're doing some good stuff. You're doing some good work.
Yeah. If that being said, guys, subscribe, like, comment, and follow Shigin, and we'll see you in part 2.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so let's start off with your introduction. Who are you?
Greetings, my interstellar children from planet Earth, Japan. 惑星者のソフィアの皆様、地球上日本からこんばんは。I'm